Hi everyone and welcome back to Scholastically Natalie. If you're new here, welcome. Hopefully if you enjoy this video, you'll be inclined to like and subscribe. If you've returned, please hit that subscribe button. If you're interested, you can find me on Instagram at Horde of a Dice Dragon. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, today the plan is to discuss designing a character. I figured we could take an in-depth look at one of the characters I've made for some of the campaigns I've played in, so it's going to be more of a look at player life and designing a character rather than something from a DM's perspective. Also, in case you hear any weird rustling, my apologies. I don't have a desk right now, and I was planning to go to my closest library and get one of their nice little study booths and record in there, but seeing as how we kind of got to stay inside, no library is open, that plan is a bit ruined. So hopefully you don't have too many uncomfortable noises while you're listening. So, today we're going to take a bit of an in-depth look at how I designed Cordenna, who is really my second long-term character for the same DM. I've played a couple other one-shot characters in a Dragon Age campaign, but Cordenna is probably my second character that I invested a lot of time into. So, this is my second campaign for an evil party, which we had a lot of fun choosing between 12 different campaign options that we all had to vote on for our DM. He's a very thorough man. By the way, any drawings you're going to see in here, those were previously completed by my DM. They're usually thought projects for designing my character, so I will be putting a link to where you can find him and his art in the description, because he's a wonderful artist, and he deserves all the promotions. So far for her race, she was a Shatter Kai, and her class was a Swashbuckler Rogue, because I am in fact the edgiest of all humans. For the campaign, it's a second Aetherpunk homebrew campaign that RGM designed, which is quite a change from our previous mostly fantasy campaign. Currently we're at level 10. When I was making this slideshow, we were probably around 6-ish. I've had to wait a little bit. And I gave her the background of an urchin. So, she probably had... So, an intro. Meet Cordenna. So, as I had her, she was a lower tier member of the Golden Malore, which was an information guild based off of mostly gaining political power and running things kind of behind the surface, and is currently a member of the Marauders of the Rising Tempest, which, let me tell you, naming our second party, that took a hot minute. That probably took about an hour and a half of us debating names. But how I designed her background was pretty simple. My DM again got a paragraph, and I was just kind of does this work? The difference between designing these characters for this campaign is that we chose that we would like to go into the past of our first campaign and kind of see the apocalypse happen, because we had heard all about the Sundering and how it had erased written history, and how nobody knew it happened, and the entire campaign were all we want to find out. So we all were hey Sam, can we please do a Sundering campaign? But because of this, we knew that the apocalypse was going to hit, and therefore a lot of our backstories would no longer be relevant. So the fun thing with Aetherpunk is that our DM had us all design what did he call it? I think it was I can't remember. It was some kind of mechanized Aetherpunky item that we would get and be able to increase the level of, or the capabilities of, with us. And how I chose to have mine exist in the first place is that I made Cordenna's parents magical artisans. And so her magical item was a snake that could change form. So its first form was that it just became one pokey stabby thing, and then I got it upgraded to be able to turn into, I think it's just crossbow, short sword, long sword, rapier, dagger, whip, I think is what it is currently. And then I made it into a periscope / telescope. I'm going for a lot of different things with my snake. But there was that, and I was like, hey, I need to have a reason to be on this other continent because the Shadow Archives live in a different island. And I was like, well, could her parents just have been murdered and she kind of just hopped from place to place? And he was like, yeah, that works. And of course I wound up on the main continent and ended up joining an information guild because my beautiful little Cordenna was still looking for taking revenge for her parents' murder. So, again, I had a super basic murder parents backstory. Like, it was so basic. But I can say what I did have fun with was that all of our characters did need a reason to at least get along slightly. So I tried to subtly tie my background in with some of the other characters. The main thing that changed with ours is that we all decided to come into this campaign in groups. So all of us would have somebody that we had known beforehand. So I came in with our kobold cleric and our half-elf warlock. And all three of us had worked together before and relatively trust each other because, again, we're evil, so we can't trust each other. And then our other two players came in with pirates. One of whom was an artificer fighter as a warforged, and the other who was a ranger, fighter rogue, just as a human. Here is the first picture of our party. Ignore the dragonborn that was a potential human coming in, but we ended up not having her play. But from left to right, we have Galahad, Neveru, Kahidi, Amaris, and Cordenna. And what I explained to my DM was that I'd just like to be somebody who's very polite to people and then murders them. High-key sociopath/psychopath vibes. Best way I can describe it, if you have watched Demon Slayer recently, the butterfly pillar, a lot like that. Or if you've watched Castlevania, our lovely evil vampire that captures Hector, a large inspiration. Or if you have watched Kakegurui, most of the double-faced girls in that. So all of the characters there. But we have had several party changes, which was a little disappointing for us. We now have an Azamar, and then we went to a halfling, and then we went back to Neveru for our other character. And then I've died a couple times. Well, I didn't die, I got petrified. But I can say that one of my big perspectives on damseling, essentially, or being taken out of the game is probably a bit different for most people because I don't mind not doing anything as long as it has a purpose. So if I get taken out of combat and kept prisoner, which has happened, I'm okay with that. Or as long as it's not just, my DM's forgotten about me, I don't mind if I have to sit out of a couple sessions. Mostly, I nap. I don't know. We've been having a lot of fun kind of getting in trouble before the apocalypse. But I can say the one fun thing I tried to do with my character is because I knew that the Warforged and our human, the two on the left, I knew that they would be coming in as pirates. I knew that much about their backstory. And so what I decided was, I kind of went to my DM and I'm like, hey, so could I have been part of the pirates before those two ever joined? Like, we never would have met each other, but I would know the people that they were in contact with. And he was like, sure. I mean, you had to have had a way to get across the ocean to go to the other continents. I don't see any reason you couldn't do that. And mostly because I didn't want to like step on their toes and like, oh, I can do the same things. I mean, I was just kind of like, I stowed away on a ship and I know how to tie knots. But it was fun because we had nice NPC interactions where we met an old friend of theirs from the pirate world, and they were like, hey, I remember you. And every single person in our room stared at me because I told nobody about my backstory. But I can say that even though I had an extremely basic backstory and a pretty basic character design, I'm having a lot more fun with Cordenna than you probably would expect. It's been quite enjoyable for me because I definitely have never played a character. I didn't play any characters with high charisma because I'm always a cleric, so I generally dump charisma. This time I dumped strength. And it's been a nice change. I've been enjoying it a lot. I don't know, I feel like I'm getting very ranty about Cordenna, but I can say that I think designing a character is more about what you intend to do with them rather than just the backstory. Because literally I had the most basic character design ever. And I'm barely even using it for what I'm doing with my character now. Our DM asked us what we wanted to do with our characters in the upcoming campaign, and I was just like, because currently we are experiencing the apocalypse. We have 500 people with us, and we're making a caravan to get to the mountains to build a settlement. We've gone a very far way from robbing people in a city. And I was like, Sam, what I want to do is she wants to make this city, and then she wants to start being a neutral information brokering place. That's what my character wants to do. And he was just kind of like, what? And I was like, even better if it could be a floating city. So currently that's my goal, and I doubt we're going to reach it because we're probably all going to die before that. But I have promised my DM that I'll play a barbarian next, which he's very interested in because normally I play clerics. Basically, I have a lot of fun with my characters. I think that a lot of people get caught up in like making sure that their backstory is constantly being involved, and this campaign we had quite a bit of change because our DM basically didn't have our backstory influence anything whatsoever. Like we didn't have any quests that led to us solving our backstories or having to have them involved in any way, shape, or form besides like minor NPC interactions, and that was very different from last campaign where we all generally had quests related to our backstory, and I kind of enjoyed it. I liked it. It kind of feels a bit more genuine when we have to agree on doing things or moving towards a goal, and I honestly don't think it's a bad thing to try out. It's kind of interesting not being super player-centric, especially right now because nothing's about us. Everything's about our caravan. But anyways, I hope that I have said something mildly useful to you in your future D&D endeavors, or at least mildly interesting. I think that's it for now. Scholastically Natalie, signing out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and if you're interested, you can find me on Instagram at Horde of a Dice Dragon. Scholastically Natalie, out.